The notebook was hidden under the false bottom of her handbag. 2 weeks of secret notes. Names, times, driver license plates. Her name is Ayla Monroe, 22 years old, black, the new executive secretary at Kang Royal Spirits, a Korean liquor distributor in Midtown. She didn't take this job for the salary. She took it because the previous secretary, Camille, her friend, disappeared 3 months ago, and nobody at this company ever said her name again. He walks in before sunrise. No appointment, no warning. Kang Tae-oh, 31 years old. They call him the Quiet One. Charcoal suit. Black serpent tattoo coiling up the right side of his neck. Hanja running along the collarbone. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't need to. Ayla doesn't look down. She slides a printed page across the glass table. The shipping clearance code on the contaminated batch doesn't belong to a line worker. It belongs to Mr. Martin, the director of logistics. The forged signature is right there in the margin. The whole boardroom goes quiet. Teo's cold gaze locks onto hers through the meeting room glass. For the first time, he sees her. By noon, she hands him a separate folder. Duplicated invoices, ghost drivers, Friday night diversions nobody was supposed to notice. 2 strangers, 1 building, a secret big enough to bury them both. But what happens that night, in the archive room, when the power flickers and her phone lights up with a message from a dead friend? Before starting the story, comment down below where you are watching from and what time it is there. If stories of karma, love, and hidden truths move you, leave a like, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and click join to become a member and help our channel. Ayla slid the notebook between 2 ledgers before the elevator doors opened. 43rd floor, Kang Royal Spirits. 5:47 in the morning, and the lights in the corridor were already on. She walked toward the secretarial desk with the same measured pace she'd practiced for 2 weeks. Not too fast, not too slow. The kind of pace that belonged to a woman who had nothing to hide. She had everything to hide. The lilac shirt was pressed. The beige skirt sat exactly where it should. She set the structured black handbag on the desk and unzipped the inside pocket. The notebook went under the desk pad, beneath the corner where the leather frayed. Camille had told her about that corner 3 months ago, over coffee. Nobody ever lifts it. Camille had laughed when she said it. 3 weeks later, Camille stopped answering her phone. Ayla turned on the desk lamp. She opened the shipping log on the screen. Howard Kessler came in at 6 sharp, sweating already, the plastic ID badge swinging against his chest. He set a stack of clearance forms in front of her without looking at her face. Mr. Martin wants these signed off by 8. Mr. Martin signs them himself. Howard's eyes flicked up. He's authorizing the line worker to do it this week. Which line worker? Just process it, Ayla. She processed nothing. She let the stack sit. When Howard turned to walk away, she opened the top form and read the clearance code at the bottom right. 8 digits. She'd seen those 8 digits before. She'd written them in the notebook 11 days ago, next to a name, not a line worker's name. She copied the code onto a sticky note, folded it, and slid it under the desk pad with the rest. By 7:15, the meeting room glass on the east wall was lit from inside. She didn't look up. She didn't have to. The reflection on her monitor told her 2 men had walked past her desk without stopping. One of them did stop. She kept typing. The footsteps came back, slower this time. She raised her eyes. Kang Tae-oh stood 3 feet from her desk, hands in the pockets of a charcoal graffiti suit, the white shirt open at the collar, where the edge of a black serpent climbed his neck. He didn't speak. He didn't move. He looked at her the way a man looks at a door he hasn't decided whether to open. Behind him, Jung Do-yoon waited near the meeting room glass, earpiece glinting, gloves tucked into his inner pocket. "You're new," Tae-oh said. 3 weeks. Where's the previous one? Ayla held his gaze for 1 second longer than was safe. I was told she left. Tae-oh didn't answer. His eyes moved to the stack of clearance forms on her desk, then back to her. Bring those. She picked up the stack and followed him through the glass door. Do-yoon stepped aside without looking at her. The meeting room smelled of coffee and something colder underneath. Richard Martin was already seated at the far end, silver hair combed back, signet ring catching the overhead light. He stood when Teo entered. He did not stand when Ayla entered. Teo sat. He gestured at the chair beside him, not the one across. Ayla sat. Mr. Kang, Martin's smile was practiced. The Friday shipment has been pre-cleared. Howard's already handled the paperwork. We just need your initials. Teo extended a hand without looking at the page. Ayla placed the top form into it. He glanced down. He started to lift the pen. That's not Howard's code, Ayla said. The room went quiet, in the particular way rooms go quiet when something has been said that no one knows how to take back. Martin's smile didn't move. His jaw did. Excuse me? But Ayla kept her eyes on the form in Teo's hand. The clearance code at the bottom right. 8 digits. It's not the line clearance code. It's a director-level code. Howard couldn't have generated it. She paused. Only you could, Mr. Martin. Martin let out a small laugh. She's mistaken. She isn't. Ayla opened the second form in the stack and slid it across the table. Same code. Last Friday. She slid a third. And the Friday before. Teo did not look at the papers. He looked at Ayla. Not the way Martin was looking at her, which was the way men look at things they intend to remove. Teo looked at her the way a man looks at a piece on a board he hadn't noticed until it moved. He set the pen down. Mr. Martin, he said quietly. Wait outside. Martin stood slowly. The signet ring tapped the table once before he lifted his hand. He walked past Ayla without turning his head. The door clicked shut. Teo did not speak for what felt like a long time. Ayla counted the seconds by the soft click of the wall clock. 11, 12. What's your name? Ayla Monroe. How did you know about the code? It's my job to log them. That's not an answer. She met his eyes. It's the only one I'm going to give you in this room. A muscle moved at the corner of his jaw. Not anger. Something else. He reached across the table, gathered the 3 forms, and folded them once. He slid them into the inside pocket of his suit jacket. Then he stood. Stay at your desk today, he said. Don't sign anything else. He walked to the door. His hand rested on the handle. Miss Monroe. Yes. Who told you to look at the codes? Ayla did not move. Under the desk pad, 2 floors of glass and steel away, a notebook waited, with a name on its first page. Camille Whitfield. Missing 11 weeks. No one, she said. He looked at her a beat longer. Then he opened the door, and Do-yoon was already there, and the morning was no longer the morning she had walked into. Do-yoon walked past her without a glance, and that was how Ayla knew he had already counted her. Teo followed 3 steps behind, slower, and his eyes found hers through the glass wall of the meeting room before the door closed. He didn't nod. He didn't look away either. Ayla returned to her desk and opened the second drawer. The folder she pulled out was not the folder anyone had asked for. It was thinner. The tab was unlabeled. Inside were photocopies she had made at a print shop 2 avenues away, paid in cash, 3 Saturdays in a row, duplicated invoices, ghost driver names that repeated across 4 states, Friday night shipments routed through a warehouse that didn't appear on any official map of Kang Royal Spirits. She slid the folder into a plain manila envelope and wrote nothing on the outside. Howard passed her desk on his way to the coffee machine, sweating already at 9:15. He saw the envelope. He looked at her. He looked at the envelope again. Miss Monroe, he said. Is that for Mr. Martin? No. Then it's for Mr. Kang. Howard's hand stayed in the air halfway to his pocket. He found a smile somewhere and pasted it on. I can deliver it. Save you the walk. I know where his office is. She stood up. The envelope went under her arm, pinned tight against her ribs. Howard watched her cross the floor and only resumed walking once she had turned the corner. The meeting room door was open. Do-yoon stood inside it, blocking the frame with his shoulder. He looked her up and down the way a man looks at a lock he intends to pick later. He's busy, He'll want this. Leave it with me. No. Do-yoon's mouth moved at one corner. Behind him, Tae-oh said one word in Korean, "Lo," and Do-yoon stepped aside without turning his head. Ayla walked in. She set the envelope on the table between them, square to the edge, and slid it the last inch with 2 fingers. "Mr. Martin's clearance code is 1 piece," she said. "This is the rest." Tae-oh did not open the envelope. He looked at her hands first, then at her face. "Why are you giving me this?" "Because nobody else in this building will." "That isn't an answer. It's the one you get today." For a long second, the only sound was the building's air system. Do-yoon's eyes moved from her to the envelope to Tae-oh and back. Tae-oh slid the envelope toward himself, opened it, and read the first page without changing his face. Then the second. Then he closed it again. "Sit down. I'm working." "Sit down, Miss Monroe." She sat. He turned the folder so the top page faced her, and tapped one line with his index finger. "These 3 driver names appear on a payroll my lieutenant signed off on last month."
Yes.
"You know what you're telling me?" "Yes." He looked at Do-yoon. Do-yoon's face was very still. Tae-oh said, in English this time, "Bring me the original logbooks from the loading dock. Now." Do-yoon left. The glass door eased shut. Tae-oh and Ayla were alone, with a folder neither of them was looking at. "Whoever you are," he said, "you are not a secretary." "I'm a secretary. You are also something else." She didn't answer. He didn't ask again. He stood instead, walked to the door, and said over his shoulder, 3 o'clock, archive room. Bring everything you haven't shown me yet." By 3, the sky outside the warehouse windows had gone the color of brushed steel. The archive room sat on the 2nd floor, behind a steel door that needed a code Ayla had memorized in her first week. She typed it. The lock clicked. She went in. Tae-oh was already there, jacket off, sleeves rolled to the forearm. The tattoo at his collarbone showed above the open shirt. He had pulled out 3 boxes of shipping ledgers and set them on the central table. She put her bag down. She put her phone on the table, screen down. They worked. For 40 minutes neither of them spoke. She matched dates. He matched signatures. The pattern came up the way patterns do. Slow at first, then all at once. Every Friday, every diversion, every signature was Martin's, but the routing instructions, in pencil on the back of each manifest, were in a different hand. "This handwriting," she said. "I know it." He didn't say whose. Then the lights flickered. Once, twice. They stayed on at half strength, yellow and low, the bulbs above the table buzzing like something tired. Her phone, face down, lit up against the wood. The screen washed a pale rectangle of light up the underside of her wrist. A name showed through the back of the case in reverse. She did not turn it over, but Tae-oh did. He did it without asking. He turned the phone in 2 fingers and read the name on the screen. Camille. The preview of the message sat under it in 2 lines. "If anything happens to me, Ayla, please don't stop. You were right about this place." Tae-oh did not move. He read it twice. He set the phone back exactly where it had been, face down, in the same square of yellow light. "Camille Whitfield," he said. "Yes. The secretary before you. Yes. You took this job to find her. Yes." He looked at her then in a way he had not looked at her before. The suspicion that had been sitting behind his eyes all day was gone. What replaced it was quieter and worse. It was the look of a man who has just understood that the woman in front of him is braver than he is. "Miss Monroe." "Ayla. Ayla." He said it once, testing the shape of it. "From this hour, you do not walk out of this building alone." The lights flickered again. Down the corridor, somewhere past the steel door, a phone began to ring on an internal line, and it did not stop. The phone kept ringing. Ayla counted the rings instead of the seconds. 7, 8, 9, then silence, heavier than the sound itself. She did not move from her chair. Her hands stayed on the cold edge of the desk, fingers spread, as if pressing the wood could keep her steady. Teo had stepped out 2 minutes before. Do-yoon had followed him without a word, eyes brushing past her like she was furniture. That brush was what stayed. She opened the secret folder under her keyboard. Not the duplicated invoices, the other one. The one she had not shown Teo yet. 12 names of drivers, 6 routes, 3 Friday windows. She ran her finger down the list of signatures at the bottom of each clearance form. Martin, 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 always Martin, always at 9:14 p.m. She pulled up the access logs on the internal terminal, building entries on those Fridays. Martin came in at 8:50, Howard at 8:55, and one more, always one more. Young Do-yoon, 9:11. 3 minutes before the signature. She read it twice. She did not blink. 3 minutes was not coincidence. 3 minutes was permission. Martin signed because someone above him said sign. Howard sweated because someone above him said sweat. The man above both of them, on every single Friday, was the lieutenant standing at Teo's right shoulder. Ayla closed the laptop. She did not close it slowly. She closed it the way a person closes a door behind a thing they cannot let out. She stood. The cold lights above the office hummed louder than they had all day. She walked to the window of the small office and looked at the corridor below. 2 security men passed. They did not look up. Then Do-yoon walked across the same corridor, alone, phone pressed to his ear, gloves on, black leather gloves. She had seen those gloves before, in the meeting room, on the receiver, when the internal line rang the first time. The thin shape of a tiger under the cuff. Her stomach moved before her mind did. She stepped back from the window. One step, then another. He had seen her exchange the folder with Teo. He had seen Teo look at her in the archive room. He had seen Teo listen. She was the only one in the building who had connected Martin to Howard to him, and Teo now knew because of her, which meant she was the door Do-yoon needed to close. She picked up her bag. Her hands were steady. She told them to be steady, and they obeyed, the way they had obeyed for 2 weeks. She walked to the archive room, because the archive room had a second door, the one Teo had shown her without saying he was showing her. She did not run. Running in a building like this was a confession. In the archive room, the lights flickered again. She did not stop. She crossed to the back wall, past the file cabinets, and pulled the small notebook from her bag. 2 weeks of notes. Camille's name on the first page. A date next to it. A question mark she had drawn the night she took this job. She tore 3 pages out. The ones with Do-yoon's name. She folded them small and slid them inside the lining of her handbag, behind the gold clasp. A sound at the front door of the archive. Not a knock, a handle turning. She did not look up. She placed the notebook back in the bag, zipped it, and turned toward the second door. It opened first. Do-yoon stood in the frame, gloves on, the earpiece in his right ear catching the yellow light. His face was calm. That was the part that cut deepest. Not a threat, not anger. The calm of a man who already knew how the next 10 minutes would go. "Miss Monroe," he said. Soft, almost kind. "Mr. Kang is asking for you." She kept her hand on the bag. "He sent you. He sent me. He doesn't send you for things like this." A small pause. The first crack, then the calm again, smoothed back over. "Tonight he does." She took 1 step forward, not toward him, toward the side of the room where the camera in the ceiling could see her clearly. She knew where it was because she had mapped them on day 3. "Then let's go through the main corridor," she said. "The side stairs are faster. The main corridor is on the way." He smiled, just at the corner of his mouth. He understood she had understood. He did not move from the doorway. The lights flickered a 3rd time. In that half-second of dimness, her phone buzzed once inside her bag. A single short pulse, a message. She did not reach for it. She held his eyes. "After you," he said. She walked. Not fast, not slow. Past him, into the corridor. He fell in behind her, 2 steps back, the way a guard walks a prisoner who is still being called a guest. The cold lights stretched ahead in a straight line to the far steel door. She counted the doors on her left. 3, 4, 5. Teo's office was the 6th. At the 5th door, Do-yoon's gloved hand rose toward her elbow. She did not flinch. She did not stop. She turned her head just enough to speak over her shoulder, voice low, even. Don't. His hand paused in the air. For one heartbeat, the corridor held still around them, the hum of the lights, the only sound between her shoulder and his glove. Then the steel door at the end of the hall pushed open from the other side. Teo stepped through. He saw the glove. He saw her hand on the bag. He saw the distance between them, the exact distance of a decision not yet made. He did not raise his voice. He said, one word, Do-yoon. The glove lowered, and somewhere behind the steel door, the internal phone began to ring again. The phone rang a second time before Teo moved. He crossed the office in 4 steps and lifted the receiver. He did not speak. He listened. Ayla watched his jaw tighten, then settle. Say it again, he said. The voice on the other end was filtered, low, scrubbed of edges. Ayla could not make out the words, only the rhythm. Teo's eyes did not leave hers. You have her on a clock, the voice said. Tick. The line went dead. Teo placed the receiver down with care. He looked at the desk, at the folder Ayla had built over 14 nights, at the small gold pen Do-yoon had left behind 2 weeks ago. He picked the pen up. He set it down again, separated from the rest. He wants you on a floor with no exits, he said. He won't get it. Ayla took 1 step toward him. How long has he been your right hand? 9 years. Then he knows everything you know. He knows what I let him know. Teo opened a drawer and lifted out a small black phone she had never seen. There is one thing he doesn't. He dialed 3 digits. Steel shutters began to drop across every window of the floor. The hum traveled through the soles of her sandals. Down in the bottling hall, the lights cut to half and the tanks glowed soft and blue through reinforced glass. The factory is sealed, he said. Inside and out. Nobody walks in. Nobody walks out. Not even me. Then what are we waiting for? For him to try. He came around the desk. He did not touch her yet. He lifted his suit jacket from the back of the chair and put it across her shoulders, slow, like a man closing a door he had been holding open for years. The lilac of her shirt disappeared under charcoal. The collar smelled of him and of something colder underneath. Gun oil. She knew the smell from her father. She did not say it. Sit by the window, he said, not in front of it, beside it. She moved where he pointed. Through the slit between shutter and frame, the bottling hall stretched below them, blue and patient. Teo stayed standing. He took his tie off the back of the chair and did not put it on. You said you never let any man past your guard. His voice had dropped a register. I am not asking you to drop it. I am asking you to stand behind mine. For tonight. And tomorrow? Tomorrow we find out who he sold us to. A boot scuffed somewhere beyond the steel door. 1 scuff, then nothing. Ayla's hand went to the folder on the desk, the one with Camille's name on the inside flap. Teo saw it. He did not look away. Camille came to me 3 weeks ago, he said, quietly. She brought me half of what you brought me tonight. Ayla's breath stopped in her throat. She's alive. She was 40 minutes ago. He glanced at the small black phone. Do-yoon moved her at sundown. I have a man on the convoy. He has not signaled. She stood up. The jacket slid 1 shoulder off, and she pulled it back without taking her eyes off him. Where? Sit down. Where? Teo. It was the first time she had used his name. He felt it land. He did not let it move him. If I tell you, you walk out that door. If you walk out that door, he wins. He wants you separated from me. That is the whole point of the call. She sat. She did not soften. She sat because he was right. And because she had decided, 2 weeks ago in her kitchen with Camille's last text on the screen, that she would be smart before she was brave. He crossed the room and crouched in front of her, eye level, both hands on the arms of her chair. He did not touch her skin. He looked at her the way a man looks at a thing he had not believed existed. I have spent 11 years being the quiet one, he said. I have not asked a single person for anything. I am asking you, just for tonight, please. She lifted one hand and placed it flat against the side of his jaw. The serpent on his neck moved when he swallowed. The kiss was not hungry, it was a decision being signed. Once, held, released. The steel door blew its lock with a dry crack. Teo was on his feet before the sound finished. He pulled Ayla behind him with one arm. The door swung wide and a guard stumbled through, breathing hard, blood on one sleeve that was not his. Mr. Kang! The guard's eyes flickered to Ayla, to the jacket on her shoulders, back to Teo. We found the previous secretary. Teo's hand closed around Ayla's. He did not turn to look at her. He kept his eyes on the guard. Alive? The guard hesitated. He opened his mouth. He looked at the floor. Down in the bottling hall, every light went out at once. Teo's grip on her hand tightened. Ayla heard her own pulse in the seam of his palm. Somewhere beyond the shutters, an engine started, and then a second, and then a third. He still had not let go. Answer me, he said. The guard lifted his head. If you want to watch all the stories without any ads and also get access to bonus scenes, extended epilogues, and exclusive spicy chapters, head over to our Patreon. Scan the QR code on the screen. The link is in the description or in the pinned comment. See you there. If this story moved you, stop for a moment and reflect. Have you ever walked into a room full of powerful men, carrying a truth that could destroy them, knowing nobody would believe a black woman from outside their world? Have you ever loved someone who was taught to never beg, and heard them say, "Just for tonight, please, not for your body, but for your trust"? And when a friend disappears and the world keeps moving as if she never existed, do you stay silent, or do you become the one who refuses to forget her name? Tell us your experiences and feelings in the comments. We read them all. And if you believe in stories about trust, hidden loyalty, and impossible love, leave a like, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and click join to become a part of our community and help the channel.